Hello, I am Wander001 and this is my review of the Wyze Cam version 2, depending on how you want to call it. I'm going to start off with this review actually stating that the price of this camera. And primarily that's because two reasons. One, if you're looking at this on other reviews, you might have seen this listed as the $20 camera or the $25 budget camera that every person should have. Well, that has caused some confusion. Because if you go to Amazon, you can get this camera for $25. If you go to the manufacturer's website, you can get it for $20. But realistically, it's the same price. Because if you go to the manufacturer's website, they charge you $5 for shipping. So, this is the cheap $25 plus shipping, depending on if you get it from Amazon or the manufacturer's website, security camera. I, in the past, have used a D-Link, review over there, camera when my particular condo complex had an issue with people setting cars on fire. Since then, knock on wood, only one car fire, haven't really had to use the D-Link. But it is starting to show its age and was a lot more expensive than this guy. The application for the D-Link is just not working anymore on my new phone. The web UI just never worked really well because of the plugin issue. So realistically, I can just go in and download things only if I'm saving them locally to the D-Link. So I have been looking for something to update or change out my old D-Link, and didn't really want to spend the money I spent on my D-Link before. This little guy here, like I said, $20 or $25, depending on where you get it. $25 all around. But you can't get all the features that you got with something like a D-Link for that price tag. Well, you would be wrong. Very wrong. So let me take you a little walk around the Wyze Cam. I'm going to say it wrong sometime during this review. This is not the first one I got. In fact, I got the Gen 1, and then shortly after I got it and was getting ready to do my review, Gen 2 came out. So I figured, should I get the Gen 2 or just review the Gen 1? Well, realistically, there's two changes that they've done for the Gen 2. They've got motion tracking, so a green box that pops up around something that's moving. I'll show you that a little later. And you'll notice that the exterior of this guy is shiny plastic. This one is matte plastic. So if you have a Gen 1, do you really need to upgrade to a Gen 2? No. But for the price, if you wanted to expand your camera offerings, it's well worth getting another one, and that being the Gen 2. All right, the front of the device, what you're looking at here is the light sensor. This is the lens. There are 4 IR lights around the bottom here, and this is right here, might be a little hard to see, is the microphone, because you can do two-way audio with this. That's one thing that the D-Link did not. You had to have a separate peripheral plugged into the back of it in order to use the speaker system. Now, the only concern I have with the speaker on this, it is much louder than the Gen 1, which is awesome, but there's no way to adjust that, and you'll see when I'm showing you the app a little later, my cat does not appreciate the volume on this guy. Coming across, like I said, it is matte plastic all the way around. We're gonna flip it around to the back here. On the back, you have your USB. So this is if you want to daisy chain a couple of these together using a singular power point. Because down here, this is your micro USB for powering. And then over there is your status light. Now your status light can either be solid yellow, meaning the device is powered on and is initializing. Flashing means the device is ready for connecting. Flashing blue and yellow, that means it's connecting in progress. Flashing blue means the device is connected and finished setting up. And solid blue is it's on. You can turn this off using the UI in the app. Now, it does not indicate if somebody's actively watching, which I don't appreciate, wish they would change that, but it is what it is. Trying to articulate this with keeping some stuff out of view here. So you've got your reset button. They have a micro SD card slot there, which is awesome. Like I said, you also have your mic and two-way mic and speaker setup. The inclusion of a micro SD card means you get local storage with this guy, which is awesome. So you don't have to use their free 14-day cloud storage. Now, when they say free 14-day cloud storage, that is just for clips, and that is just for audio triggers and motion triggers. This does not automatically send 14 days worth of all on device video. If you want that, you have to use the micro SD card to record the happenings as they happen. You can also have the alerts saved directly to the SD card, but if you do set alerts up, they automatically will get pushed to the 14-day cloud service. Now, the cloud service will only last for 14 days if you use the micro SD card. 32 is the maximum size limit. You get 3.5 days of full 1080 video rolling on that. The older video will get overridden as new video is added, but if you use just the clips or the triggers, you'll get more time on your SD card. So you might be asking yourself, how secure are those videos that are getting sent up to the cloud? Well, according to the manufacturer's website, they are uploaded to Amazon AWS Cloud via end-to-end encryption and are accessible for 14 days with no subscription required, which is the key sticking point, no subscription required. You can use this without having to pay something like you do for Nest, where they charge you extra to access the cloud services. And I do believe last time I looked at Nest, they did not have any onboard storage, which is what I want. So in case the Wi-Fi is down, I can still see what's going on the card. Granted, if somebody comes over and swipes the card, that could be a problem. But I digress. I talked about the status light on the back. That mainly has to do with whether it's on or during setup. So let me show you how easy it is to set up this camera. This is setup of Wyze Cam. To start, you're gonna have to plug it in. So here you've got your micro USB cable and stick it in the back of the thing. Alright, once you get it plugged in, cable is a little loose, but you'll see a light will come on once you've gotten that flush in there. Once it's in there too. So we're just going to let that sit there and then blink for a little bit. Alright, so you're supposed to wait until that starts blinking, and then there is a setup button right down here, which you're supposed to press after that yellow light blinks for about 20 seconds.
Ready to connect.
Alright, so it did prompt with ready to connect. You will need to download the Wyze Cam app on your smartphone and create an account, and it will continue to prompt you ready to connect until you connect it to the app. So you might want to download the Wyze Cam app first and create your account. I'm going to do that right now. Alright, so like I said, you probably want to have your account set up beforehand, because having it say ready to connect was a little annoying while setting it up. The one thing is, when you create your account, you do need to have readily available the email that you sign up with. I don't have the email that I signed up with on my phone here, and it sends an authentication number that you then have to put into the account. So make sure that if you're using an email, that it's readily available. Alright, so here we're going to come to add device, because, well, we're going to add this device. So it's saying to make sure to take the film off the front of the camera, which I have already done. Now, I do know that there's going to be a QR code that pops up. So I'm going to hold the phone like this so you guys can't see it, so you can add this. See, it's giving you the steps again, which is connect to the power, wait 20 seconds, hit the setup button, and then you'll get that prompt ready to connect. You can watch a helpful video. I did not hear ready to connect. I heard ready to connect, so I'm going to say I did. Alright, next step is it's going to ask you to sign into your Wi-Fi, so I'm going to do that. So there was a QR code that I had to scan off camera, and then it said setup ready. The only problem that I ran into with the QR code was trying to get it close enough so that it would read the QR code, after which I gave the camera a name. Right out of the box, it did have a firmware upgrade, so we're doing that right now. And I'm not going to force you to sit through the upgrade, so we'll just pop back on when it's finished. Okay, we have a message now that says firmware is updated, and we've got a back button. blue light on the camera, and we're just gonna go back. Alright, so it's a little walkthrough tutorial, and there you go. That's the mess I currently have on my table. There you go. Not terrible to do. Some things to consider with this particular camera. It operates via Wi-Fi, so 2.4 gigahertz spectrum only. This is not a 5 gigahertz device. The night vision, so those 4 IR lights in the front, supposedly have a capability of 30 feet away. I've not measured, but for my living room, it's worked just fine. You can use this to point outside if you want, but just know those IR lights are going to bounce against your window, so you're gonna have to tape them over, similar to how I did with my D-Link with some electrical tape or something, just so that in night vision mode, you can see outside. Now, that's the one thing that I dislike, is there's no triggering off the IR lights when going into the night mode, but then again, it's a $20 camera. I'm not really going to complain. Let's talk about the lens. You have a 2.8 millimeter focal length. You have a 110 degree wide angle lens, which is really important because this camera can cover a lot more area than my old D-Link could. You also have a CMOS sensor in here. Like I said before, also full 1080p, 1920 by 1080 and 8 times digital zoom. So an optical zoom, but digital zoom. That's pretty good. You also have motion tracking, which when I show you the app, is just a little green box that shows up around somebody when moving. It makes it a little better when I have this out in my living room to keep track of my cats, because sometimes they whoosh, and they're hard to see. So what do you get with your Wyze Cam? Well, you get a power cord. Obviously, this is a 6-foot power cord. Will do you pretty good, but here's the beauty of it. Detachable wall wart. So if this cable is not long enough for you, you can get another one and stick it in there. You also get this fancy metal disc and 3M tape. Why, you might ask? Well, the bottom of the Wyze Cam is magnetic to make placing this much easier without having to drill holes. So you've got your 3M tape for that. Or you can put some sticky tack on there and magnetize the Wyze Cam in place, which is kind of what I did when I was testing looking out into my parking lot, but I kind of leave this one inside and the Wyze Cam version 1 pointing outside. So a lot of the important things that the Wyze Cam itself can do are all through the application, which is available through iOS and Android store. Now, there is no web user interface with that. With this is how they kind of keep that price down. It is all app-based. It's a plus and a minus. As long as they support the app and they continue talking, that's great. But if you end up with like mine and the D-Link, it's just not working anymore. So let's take a look at all the things that you can do with the Wyze application. All right, so this is an interesting view of the Wyze camera UI, because right now I have 2 Wyze Cams. Both are positioned fairly close to each other in my living room. So this is actually a combination of both. The top one is the one we're currently looking at, which is the Wyze Cam version 2. Underneath that is the Wyze Cam version 1. Now you'll see that it is a static image from the last time that I actually checked in on my cameras, but if we click on one, it will load it up, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go over to this one, and then I'm going to go back. So now we have 2 static pictures from right now. So if you were ever wondering a behind the scenes of how I film stuff, here it is. So the application itself lets you do a couple of things. You'll notice down here you have devices, notifications, and my account. Up here in the upper right hand corner you have a plus sign. Clicking that will allow you to add a new device. So we can add another Wyze Cam, or we can add the new Wyze Cam pan. We can select share. Sharing this will allow us to share our cameras with other users. Now, got to trust the people that you're sharing with. Notice you have shares for each of the individual cameras. Here, because I have 2 cameras, there is a shuffle button, so I can move these around as I see fit. I'm not going to, because I'm currently testing and reviewing the top one. Notifications down here at the bottom. If we come to notifications, this is going to be all the alerts that have happened. So let's go back to Sunday at 11:29. I had a motion alert. Now, what I want you to notice is all of these motion alerts, there's no still for the alert. And that's problematic because here we got 12:46 p.m. 12:40 p.m., 12:10 p.m. I mean, what do these mean? What am I looking at? Yes, they're all the Cam version 2, but I don't get a little snippet as to what that is. So you have a calendar up here at the top that will allow you to select days that you get the alerts. So we have motion alert, and it tells you what type it is, motion, sound, etc. So we're going to click on it. What happens is it will download from the cloud to your phone so that you can watch the alert. Now in this case, you can see right there, there was a change in the lighting. So that triggered the motion alert because the cat's right there, one there and one hiding over there, did not move at all. And this downloaded to my phone. Now I can expand it by clicking there, and then you can press play again. So here you go. Lights went out. It tracked that as motion and didn't notice the cat move his head, but is what it is. So that was us turning off our living room lights remotely. Going back to that, you can share with anything that you can share with Android. You can toggle the sound on or off, or you can delete. So if I delete, do I want to delete this video? I select OK. Notice it deleted it from the cloud. Now these are all things that my wife was setting off because I forgot to turn off the trigger, so I'm not going to show you those. But just notice it shows you motion, and I wish that they would have like a little thumbnail there. That would be super nice. My account has a lot of private information, so I won't be showing you that. Over here, under notifications, there is a cog. If we click on that, we can turn on and off push notifications. Messages, you'll notice that there are no messages, well, because there's no current notifications being pushed. If we come back to devices, we've covered the bottom options. Now let's go into our actual camera. So you'll get to see me again, behind the scenes magic. On the main screen here, you've got a toggle for HD or standard def. So right now it's doing HD. It's currently set for auto mode. You can click on that where it will automatically toggle night mode. Notice that turning it into night mode triggered the motion sensor. So it does have a little bit of play when triggering night mode versus day mode. You might get a false alarm, shall we say. And we're going to click on that again, and there we go. That motion box is popping up when I turned it back to day mode, and we're just going to select auto mode one more time. So just like I did before, if we select that in the corner there, it will turn it to full screen, and I'm going to just wave my arm over here. Now notice that I'm waving pretty far, and it's not actually triggering the motion sensor. So we're going to turn that sideways and shrink it back down, because right here we're going to go across the bar. So right now you can toggle sound on or off. You can go into record, where it will start recording exactly what you're looking at in real time. Stop that, and it will send a copy to the cloud. I'm sorry, it will record that copy directly to your phone. You have a speaker option. Now the speaker option is kind of nice. If you hold this down, you'll get a speech toggle. Now I'm going to turn off the sound on the device so that I don't get feedback, but if I come over here and say, hey, what are you looking at? You may have heard that come from behind me, because that's where the camera is. So you can use the speaker to talk to somebody, in this case the cat. Yeah, he doesn't really like the camera. He does not like me doing that to him a lot. As you can see, it spooked him, because it's just a little bit on this mantle here actually. You can take a photo of what's on screen right now. So it just took a photo and sent it to an album. You can select more, which will show you motion tagging. So all that green motion is motion tagging. Albums will show you things that you have saved. So here you can see there's a time lapse in here, there's a manual recording, and then there's a photo. There's a photo that I took. If I click on that, I can see it, I can share it, I can delete it, and it gives you a time, date, and stamp up there. Coming back to more, in albums, we did a time lapse before. If I click on that, it will download. And this is a fairly lengthy time lapse at 1:35. Not entirely sure how that's going to turn out because, well, I did this while I was away at work, so maybe there'll be some cats running around. Don't know for sure. Coming up here, we can select edit, which will allow us to delete items if we want to. So if I select one, so that's new. That's actually giving me a bit of an issue. Now, I don't know if it's because it's downloading this, so we'll let that finish and then come back. Right, so this is our time lapse, which apparently is going to be super interesting because it does not look like the cats did anything. Oh, there we go. Cat over there is kind of moving. Being a cat. So in case you ever wondered how much time cats spend sleeping, this will give you an idea. This was over a 3-hour period where it took a photo every 30 seconds, no, every 3 seconds. So there, he's just flopping around over there. Not the most compelling of time lapses, sadly. See if we speed that up as it gets closer to when he's expecting food. All right, so he disappeared. He was over here a little bit. Yeah. All right. Well, not the most compelling time lapse, but that was a time lapse. We can go back now and try editing. So if I click on it, yep, there we go. It's because it was downloading the time lapse. You can select, hit delete. I will delete these 2 videos. Likewise, edit. Can select. You'll notice this one doesn't have a bullet in front. It's actually on top of it. Delete. Those are gone. And we're back to our main page of me sitting here. So we've covered all of this. View playback. This is an option that's only available if you have a memory card or an SD card inside the cam. So going back to view playback, you're going to get about 3.5 days depending on 1, how much motion you're getting, and 2, if you're using HD or standard. So here we can view playback. You notice it jumped back a little bit. You can see me waving because right now my hands are right here. So it's allowing us to view playback. Now we can come here and select a specific day. You can select a particular time on the frame here and it will allow you to view for that particular day. Now I'm not going to show you that because there'll be people there. So here, cat's not actually behind me. So this is just a little bit ago. Now from here, you can toggle the sound on and off. You can record directly from your recording. You can pause your recording, you can play it, and you can take a photo of it. And just like before, you can access your albums. View playback, you can also toggle live on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick my arm out there so you can see it's live. Coming up to the top, settings. So you have your alert settings. You have alert detection, motion detection, sound detection, and smoke and CO detection. So these are based on auditory sounds, so it's not actually detecting smoke. So the one problem with that is I wanted to test these, but my neighbors complained a lot after I did my smart battery test up there and the water sensor test up there. So I can't test these out, sorry. I've seen other people use them and they do work. You can also set your alert schedule, so you can set when you want to be alerted if there's motion. So right now I have it set for all day. If you toggle that off, you can set parameters here and it will just alert you during those times. So let's set up a motion alert. You have a sensitivity. We're going to jack that all the way up. You can select full screen, which means if there's motion anywhere on the screen, it will trigger this alert. Or you can select motion zone by selecting a zone. Now, this is one thing that I will say I really appreciate them doing, because it was one of the big complaints I had of the app, was not being able to select a zone. Right now you can see it's set for the cat level. I can drag this up here and now it's just going to get people, or I can expand it a little bit using the sizing handle and get it to cat on table where he shouldn't be zone, as well as keeping most of their activity out of the way. You can shrink this box to the size that you want and select a target location. Now, like I said, my target location is a specific height to keep the cats from triggering it all the time, but get an alert when my pet sitter comes in. Or, like I said, if I drag this down a little bit more, if the one cat tends to go on the table. So this will get him if he goes on the table. We hit save and we have the motion alert set for high. So what we're going to do is, while we're filming, we're going to see about triggering an event. So there you saw in real time it's picking up motion, And now we'll wait and see how long it will take to push that notification. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna sadly leave in that flub because then you won't know how it is in real time. So there you go. Motion was detected. Going there will bring us right to the device so that we can look at it in real time. So those were alert settings. Next are advanced settings. So storage, here you have local recording. You can turn that on and off only if you have a micro SD card in the camera. You can record to the SD card only events, so those triggers, or you can have continuous recording. I tend to use continuous recording, but having it be able to just do it for the triggers is kind of nice. So SD card, it shows you the amount of space left, so 10.98 gigs out of 29.7. This was a 32 gig card. And what happens is if you run out of space, it will overwrite the oldest thing on there. So you can also format the SD card right from here. Now, night vision, you can toggle that on off here as well. Camera status light. Now, this turns on and off a little blue light on the back of the camera. I wish they would add a feature where if somebody was actively looking at the camera, that the light would blink, because my D-Link does that, and I wish they would too. Rotate image 180 degrees. This is cool. So if we look at my camera right now, it is sitting on my banister. Let's say you had to hang this upside down. If you rotate it 180 degrees, when we come back to the camera, I'm upside down. Notice the trigger area is being triggered because it's doing the flip. So let's say you mounted this to a ceiling, you would be able to mount it without having to fiddle with the camera, which I appreciate because that was a pain in the butt to do with my D-Link. So awesome. Time and date stamp, right there, good to have. Record sound, also good, also eats up more space. Time sync, just that. Sync time to your local on the cell phone. Device info, MAC address, last firmware, not gonna show you that. Delete this device, also not gonna do that because I wanna keep that on here. So that is actually all the features that you get with this camera. What I forgot to mention, when in full screen mode or not full screen mode, you can pinch to zoom. So you can see my setup on my TV stand there. So it does have 8 times digital zoom. So not optical zoom, but not bad. Also, the wide angle lens on this compared to my D-Link, that's pretty much all I would see with the D-Link. So all this extra over here is because of that wide angle lens. So that is a very nice feature to have. Because of all that flexibility and pricing and unique features, that turn the video 180 degrees to me was like just the wow moment. Because I'm like, well, I don't have to worry about finagling the head on this, which is great, even though it is very adjustable. I mean, it does have some limitations because you will have to do a balancing act, because if it's too far like that and you don't have the metal plate in place, it will tip over, but that's not terrible. But the other thing that I consider, because my house runs on electricity, everything in the house runs on electricity, heating, my oven, how much power does this actually use? Well, when it's just on and the infrared lights are not on, and recording, mind you, to a micro SD card, it only uses 2.1 watts of power. When the IR lights come on, it uses 3 watts. In comparison, my D-Link camera used 3 watts when it was just on, and 4 watts when the IR lights were on. So this uses less power and is cheaper. I'm gonna keep saying that. And the reason that people are reviewing this camera and why I got it is because of all the stuff that it does for the price tag. The price tag is unbelievable for what you get. You can use it as a baby monitor. You don't have to use it as a home security apparatus. A $25 baby monitor. Can you beat that? You get the motion tagging, you can see Junior rolling around in his crib. Or if Junior gets out of his crib, you can get sent an alert so that you know to go yell at Junior to get back in the crib and go to sleep. While the camera provides local storage, and that is a great option, there are a couple of shortcomings with that I did not realize even when I did my initial review or testing. So this is an addendum to kind of cover that. One of them being, because the SD card is located on the bottom here, and I'll show you that in a moment, if you have this positioned in a particular way to catch a scene exactly as you like, you may have to disturb that in order to get to the SD card here. Now, the other thing is, aside from disturbing the scene, the SD card is on the bottom here. And I'm going to zoom in a little more, and you'll notice that there's a lip here and a lip here that make it a little difficult to get to the SD card slot. Now, I don't have fingernails that are terribly long, and this is a bit of a pain to actually get to. So for me, I end up having to use a paper clip and just using that to eject the SD card. Likewise, putting the SD card back in, I just kind of push it sideways and do that until it clicks. So that's a small shortcoming with the SD card. I had my wife do it, who has longer fingernails, and while she was able to eject it very easily, when she was putting the SD card back in, she actually springed it out across my living room. So I had to go find that before my cats did. So that's one small concern with the recording to the device itself. If you need to grab the SD card to take information off of. Now, the reason I'm covering taking information off of, while the app itself allows you to grab clips, which is very nice, the clips are generally 12 to 13 seconds, you can go back and scrub and record from the app itself things that you have saved to the SD card. But you're recording in real time. So if hypothetically an event that you're trying to cover is an hour long or 2 hours long. Now, I know that sounds a little weird, but for the instances of why I'm using this as proof of annoyances with neighbors, it's kind of necessary to show the length of time. And I can't sit there on the app and record in real time. So I wish that the app would let you access the SD card. Now, the SD card file format is not without its fault personally either. They do break it down into the dates for the folders, and then within the folders they break it down into the times. Once you access a time, each item is a minute long, so it starts 0 to 59. But if you're going back and grabbing multiple days and not putting them into a folder structure, but rather just uploading them to YouTube so that you can see sequentially how long nuisances have been going on, then you run into a problem because you have a bunch of files that are all named the same thing, because it's all going to be 0 to 59. The one thing I will give the D-Link, doing that a little better, each file was stamped with date, time, and it was easier to tell them apart. So those are a few things to consider with the local storage. It's not a deal breaker, but it's things that I found out after the fact, even after I did my initial review. So, hey, maybe you want to change the app so we can access the SD card from the app and just grab what we need? That'd be super. For all of those reasons, if you haven't gotten the impression yet, I highly recommend checking out the Wyze Cam version 2, because they don't sell the version 1 anymore. I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching.